Welcome back to She Talks, presented by Soul Healing Essentials. My name is Allie, the spiritual architect. I'm your host, and today we're going to talk about the third eye chakra. And for that, I have my very good friend, Barbara, joining us today. Barbara, say hello to the audience.
Hello, audience.
And do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? And while you're there, I specifically asked which chakra you want to talk about, and you said third eye. So maybe go into that a little bit.
All right. Everyone, my name is Barbara. I own Beach Fitness in Seal Beach. I co-own Beach Fitness in Seal Beach, which is a private training studio and a small group fitness studio. My job title would really be personal trainer, nutritional therapy practitioner, and holistic health coach. So I do all those things on a daily basis, but really my job entails everything.
And she literally does everything. And just for background information, we actually had your business partner on, Bryce Turner. We had a whole episode with him. So if anybody wants to check that out, just scroll back.
What did he talk about?
We talked about spine wellness, so more Aldoa based.
Okay. Well, the reason I picked the third eye, I mean, if you had asked me 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I probably would have picked the heart chakra. But I think I did a lot of work to try to heal my heart chakra. And now I'm doing more work to try to improve my intuition and try to improve even my decision-making abilities. And then really just like resonate with that third eye. Yeah. I know that I need to put more, I do meditate, but I need to put more focus into that. And I think as time has gone on, I become less and less decisive.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So like more gray area versus black and white.
Well,
yes or no?
I've always been a gray person. My dad was very black and white, and I tend to surround myself with black and white people. I see the gray. I always see both sides. Mm-hmm. But I think the only way to really develop your intuition and develop even decision-making. I mean, like, go with your gut. Ever since we started talking about human design, and my strategy would be, I'm splenic, so that is instinctual, you know? And if I don't go with that instinct, then I shouldn't even make the decision. And sometimes when you have all that clutter in your head, you have all these other things going on, you don't listen to that gut instinct. You don't listen to that splenic, instinctual decision making. And so I think the more you practice and focus on that, the better you'll be.
So it's like a muscle you're working on.
I like to think of it like that. And like, so going back to just the heart, like without getting into the heart, when I was going through my hard time 3 years ago, 2017. Yeah. I realized that I had nothing green in my life. Not a thing green. No clothes, no plants. Yeah. That's so nice. I don't like anything green. And started...
Or pink for that
Or
matter.
pink. Yeah.
Both
not
of those
green
are
or pink.
Heart chakra.
Yeah. Nothing pink in my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so I was like, well, the only thing green that I could possibly want around me is plants, and that's when I started my indoor plants, and now I surround myself with those plants, and
I've seen you once in a while sneak in like a green jewel,
now,
or something outfit,
now, and now you see like I have a green jacket and I have a green this or that, you know. So, but
you were always like, it's either something black, something white,
black, white, gray, black, white, gray,
navy blue snuck in once in a while.
You don't see me in a lot of indigo, do you? No.
Yeah, but that's what's fascinating about that. I think is. I mean, we've talked about this stuff a few times, right? And hear me out on this, because I think I tend to be all over the place. But you were always a very great person. You always saw everything from both aspects. And I can definitely vouch for that, because I always say to you that you always cheer on the underdog. Like you always cheer on the person that I'm complaining about, or like the situation, not like I sit around and, complain about people all day, but just, you always go, but that person. And like in that moment, I'm like, could you just be on my side for that minute? But I do realize that it is extremely heart-based. Whereas when I started looking at the chakra system, and this is back in like 2013, so not terribly long time ago, but a while ago, I actually was so clueless about it. I had to Google, and the first thing I Googled was the third eye, because I was like, what is this thing? Yeah. And so it's just interesting that now you're looking at third eye, whereas I'm now much more looking at heart. Yeah. So we kind of swapped. Yeah.
And I think the third eye for me is like I think I actually am very intuitive. I just don't think I know how to use it.
Right. Well, and there's something so mystical about it.
Right.
So, I mean, the last episode that we did on the chakra system was the crown chakra, and we talked about how that's so mystical as well. And it's sort of like the end of the spectrum, where crown is you're really up there versus the root, which is you're really grounded. And then there's the third eye, which is just imagination, but it's really connected to your... It's a big one.
And I think it is the creativity and, I mean, we'll just continue to say intuition, but it's...
Well, dream state, imagination.
And I don't dream.
Really?
Not very often.
Wow.
And if I do, but I don't remember them at all. Yeah. I know you come back with these vivid dreams. I would probably...
Last night I dreamt this thing. And
I mean, if I remembered it, I might remember it that morning, and I would never ever remember it enough to like retell the story. Very rarely.
Wow.
Very rarely. Yeah.
And that's true.
You remember Eric Bueno would always be like, Barb, you need to look up your dreams. You need to have a dream book, and you have to write them down as soon as you wake up. And I'm like, yeah, I should do that. You're right. I should do that. But...
And that's another little connected topic there, because memory. And Barb here, fantastic business owner.
Terrible
memory. But you've got like a very specific memory. Like you can remember your schedule. You can actually remember the schedule of every single one of your employees. But like if I mentioned, remember that so-and-so in high school or when this happened, and you're like, what high school? She has no clue that we even half the time went to the same school together.
And that's another reason why, yes, the memory isn't my strong suit, and I not that I need to remember those things, but I do. But part of that is like part of me wants to work on that as well. Like, and you do have to. Like you said, it's a muscle. You have to work on it.
Fascinating. So what do you do for it? I mean, so even your meditation. What do you do?
Great question. Well, now just recently started journaling again. I'm actually taking a class. I'm taking 2 classes actually to dive in a little deeper and to create a flow within, like, so it's teaching me how to be alive and how to use my intuition and how to get rid of the clutter and how to, all it's not new information. It's just like
it never is.
It's presented in a new way. And so right now, specifically, that's what I'm doing. But on a daily basis, I try to step away, especially when I can tell that there's too much action. It's like we were talking about today. Like if the radio's just too loud or if it's just the wrong song, and then there's like the crossover of everyone changing their time at like, so it's the 8:00 time and the 7:30 people are leaving and the 8:00 people are coming in. And then someone wants to say something as simple as, hey Barb, have a great trip on Hawaii. Are you going to do this, this, and this? And I'm like, I'm just trying to get to my next thing.
There's an overwhelm.
It's like a complete overwhelm of just things. And then I can feel myself just get to like the top of my abilities. And so I'll just like have to go on a walk, or just like I'll go step into the infrared sauna for a minute, or I'll just, even if I have to just go in the hallway, but like just take a break, close my eyes, like say a couple of mantras, and then
go come back to you and rebalance. I love that. So like I said, last time we talked about the crown chakra, which is supposed to be much more like let's say
esoteric.
It's so much more esoteric, whereas this has to do like the
I mean, the third eye is still fairly esoteric.
It is, yes. It's actually still hard
but
to
it does.
talk about,
we were talking about how there is that gut-brain connection.
Right. So, and let's get back to that. What I found really interesting just now, which I was like quickly going through my notes, is when it comes to the crown chakra, right? Last time we said silence. what I found interesting about this is you naturally actually do what's great for the third eye, which is a variety of light. So light is great for balancing the third eye. And you even mentioned the infrared sauna, which would be like a different kind of light. And so, I get all excited with these things that we naturally, as human beings, if we actually center with ourselves and we connect with ourselves, we naturally go do the thing that is going to rebalance that part of ourselves. And we already kind of intuitively, quote unquote, know that that's the part of ourselves that something's a little amiss. And so you said, I'm working on my third eye, and you're actually naturally doing, I don't know if you looked it up, but you're naturally doing those things. And I don't know. I always get excited when this happens.
But you said light, and that reminded me because I had that facial with Chris yesterday.
Yeah.
And she puts that light mask on you at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always thought they used to sell those at the nutrition seminars I would go to. Yeah. And I was always like, you don't really need one more thing, Barb.
Yeah.
But I do maybe.
But another excuse. Well, I do I talk about this all the time, but I do the salt float baths. And I can tell more often than not which part of me is feeling like it needs a little extra. And when I feel too scattered or like I can't, I don't know, focus or center, I'll turn on the light or I'll turn on the sound, and it just brings me back to that moment, because I'm trying to be as much as possible in the moment while I'm there, or in a meditative state, i.e. the escape of it, or be really present and not be stressing about, okay, so I have this design that I'm working on. I need to, blah, 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 and then I need to go take care of, blah, blah, and so sometimes the light, sometimes I even turn on where it oscillates between all the different colors, and I'm just watching the lights. And
Are you sensitive to light?
I'm sensitive in the sense that I prefer things to be dimmer.
Dimmer, me too.
And I actually even prefer sounds to be a little bit. Because I was telling you the other morning I woke up because there was a pigeon outside my window, and it while it incorporated into my dream, it also sounded really robotic to me, where I suddenly just kept, what is this pigeon doing right outside my window? So I get sensitive to overly, like too bright, too loud, especially if I'm trying to.
For me, present. It's like a monotonous sound, like a ticking clock. I can't handle at all. And then bright light, so we had the lights out in the gym for a year. And now they're back on.
It's so pleasant in here.
It's like every single day Bryce is like, I can't handle this no light, and I'm like, but I look so good in this dim light. And it's just like touché, it feels better to me. Maybe not all of them out, but the dimmer lighting. I keep my phone on very low. I keep my computer on very low.
Same, yeah.
Now I try to use blue blockers all the time as much as I can.
Interesting. And I mean, we won't get into this part, but I mean, there's definitely been so many studies with the fluorescent lights isn't terribly great for the human, what would you call it, psyche or even health. Yeah. So the other thing that you mentioned, which again, maybe we can do a whole other episode on this, but just for the sake of this, you mentioned human design, and when the third eye is balanced, you see everything clearly. You function and you make decisions with a sense of neutrality. You feel connected. You don't feel overly attached to any particular outcome. You just sort of are. But the third eye itself is also associated with archetypes. And I feel like that somehow feeds into the human design a little bit too, because human design teaches you or tries to give you tools so that you know how to approach situations and decisions based on
it's an operating system.
Right. Yeah. Do you want to explain that? Because obviously I'm not explaining it as well.
No. I mean, like, it is tools, but it's more like it's an operating system that I love archetypes too. Like I think that it's very much a generalization to say that everybody fits into certain boxes. Yeah. And when I start talking about human design, because I'm by no means an expert, and I really have only read minimal on the four major types and then a few other things, people are like, well, that doesn't work for me. But like, there's so many layers of that human design. So there's like, I just like to figure out people. Like, I love figuring out people and seeing how their operating system works. And I think that's so, like, I think archetype's the same type.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah. That, like, Enneagram, too, is the same.
Yeah.
My mom used to always be like, you're a 7. I'm like, no, I'm a 9. I'm like,
whatever. Yeah. But that's interesting that is what you're naturally drawn to. And that's also, in my opinion, a little bit third eye based. You know?
Yeah, but again, yes, that I'm naturally drawn to that, and more recently in these last couple of years since not that I've completely healed my heart chakra or anything like that, but it's an ongoing process. I've done the work, and I've passed it to a point, and it's time to move on to a new thing. And like, yes, all of the things related to the third eye chakra are things that I'm interested in currently. Yes,
that's fascinating. So, again, we could maybe even talk about human design. Neither one of us are experts in human design. We just happen to be very different, and one of the more quote unquote rarer ones.
Yes, Allie's very rare as well.
But so are you. It just, so it's interesting that we're also drawn to each other when we are more of the and I very loosely say the words.
I think it makes a lot of sense why that, because our operating systems complement each other in a sense. We both need rest. We both need to take that time apart. We both, we don't necessarily, manifestors are a little different in the sense that they don't have a regenerating energy system, but you can initiate, and so it's like a little bit different. But you still need your time apart. Like, you still need your time alone. You still, and I mean, projectors, that's what I am, is very, very similar. Yeah. So I have even less energy.
Which is actually kind of nice, because I guess what that means is, I mean, we've met when we were 13.
Yeah.
Barb's I have no idea. I don't remember.
Something around there.
Something around there. But,
I think I was there.
But it is interesting, because you do sometimes bump into people where they just, because they're, one of the other types, which is, the reflector, which is extremely rare and hard to bump into.
And then there's generators.
And then there's generators, which are a lot more common, but they make the world go round. So they have so much energy, and when it's something like this where I have gone through my life going, I just don't have as much energy as you do. You jump out of bed, you do 50 million things, and while I can start projects, I have no interest in finishing them per se. I just really have all these ideas, and I need a team to help me complete them, And I think it's hard to have that conversation with someone who perhaps is a generator, if we're going to stick with this, who is a generator, who's like, I have no problem completing things, and I complete it within 2 minutes, and I've got my list, and why can't you? And you're sort of, I don't know. I'm lazy, but I know I'm not lazy. I mean,
I have felt lazy my whole life. Like, but I'm not lazy. I'll do it. Yeah. But I feel like, oh my God, why did that exhaust me?
Why did these people just keep on going?
How did they not need a rest? How did they not need a nap? I always was a napper my entire life.
You always were, yeah.
Always.
And that used to surprise me, because I mean, once I learned what human design was, and even the concept of different archetypes, and just the concept of all that, I went, oh, people are different. Yeah. No wonder, because I was always around the generators. Everyone around me was 70% always.
70% that's the population, so and the world works for generators.
Yeah.
Well, that's what COVID's been so nice, because it suited us so much better. And it finally gave us it's okay.
It's okay to slow down.
You're supposed to slow down.
And it's okay to change your schedule, and it's okay to just do things differently.
It's okay to work when you're ready to work, and not work when you can't work. Yeah.
And in that aspect, I feel like I finally go, oh, I belong here. I belong in this speed of the world, because I get a lot done. I come up with a whole bunch of stuff. I like to have 50 projects started and they're finishing, but I know I'm not the one that's gonna, so I'm in architecture design. I know that I'm not the one that's gonna build the house, but I love to come up with how we're gonna do it. Yeah. And so that's third eye. Again, I love that. Okay. So then we started off by talking about the gut-brain connection, I think you mentioned. So again, in my last episode that was chakra related, we talked about the idea of, is it what you eat specifically that might help you connect to your chakra system or different parts of you, or open you up to, the imagination, the other worlds, the meditation, all that? Or is it give your body what it needs, give it the good nutrients, give it the good exercise, give it the stuff that it needs. Therefore, body feels good, and that opens you up to being able to spend the time looking at these different things. And like we said before we started this episode, if I'm sitting here with a bellyache, the last thing I feel like doing is going to meditate in the corner, you know?
Well, I think it's both. I think it's, you definitely have to nourish yourself so that you do feel good enough to explore these other parts of you. And you, if you're not doing the good things for your gut, then you're not helping your soul. So I think that you definitely need to pay attention to those foods and nourish your body for that. But I think there are also foods that will help you excel, I suppose, farther than that.
Yeah.
You know, so like above and beyond what you would naturally do. And that might be not even a food or not even a nourishing food, more like a psychedelic or something like that.
Okay.
You know, it's from a plant, but it's not exactly food.
Okay.
You know, but you'd consume it.
Such as? I don't know, we're skating on thin ice.
Such as mushrooms or ayahuasca, you know? Like, and I'm not saying do it on your own. I'm saying find a good source of someone that, but I think they're very healing. I think that microdosing, I've never done it, microdosing mushrooms, but obviously we've done ayahuasca, and I think that was a very cathartic experiment. Combo, you know, another plant medicine, not necessarily a plant, but the similar, the resin of a frog, the tree frog. Also a cathartic experience. But you know, that's side note to the nutrition. I think I think, and you know, they tell you all the foods to eat and how to nourish your body before and after experiences like that. And if you're not well nourished, you, like they are brain changing chemicals in those plants, and you will feel that. So if you're not well nourished, you're gonna set yourself up for failure, you know. Well,
I suppose they're brain altering chemicals in our foods, which we rarely talk about.
Right.
It's almost as no one wants to really have that conversation.
Well,
but
let's talk about that.
But
So, I mean, sugar alone.
Yeah.
You see my mood changes.
Yes, I do.
I like alcohol and sugar can put you on a complete high, and then the next day a complete low.
Yeah.
And then it's not, and I'm not saying that it's all completely bad for you, but living on that stuff on a regular basis is definitely setting yourself up for failure. And if you're not, so like if you were to do like, so let's say we're talking about doing an elimination diet, and you're eliminating the gluten and the dairy and the sugar and the soy and the alcohol, caffeine, everything from your body. And then you start putting those things back into your body so that you can really tell which ones affect you more. Yeah. Some people can handle sugar, you know, it's not good for you still, even the people who can handle it, but they don't have the mood swings that I have. Yeah. Or, they hopefully are not clogging their arteries because of this sugar intake, for instance.
Because of the different foods they take,
Yeah. I know we're kind of all over the place, but...
No, it's important. I think these are all important conversations, which I don't think people necessarily have. We talk about the chakra system, and I think we always find, okay, well, it's this tone, and it's this color, and it's this part of the body. And yes, those are important aspects of it. But I have struggled to find the conversations of, but how do you connect with it and not separate yourself from life? So yeah, if I'm trying to connect to my crown or to my third eye, it's probably not going to be if I just had a margarita. It's probably not going to be, you know.
And like a little bit might connect you, but too much is going to disconnect you. Yeah. And so like, my birthday party, for instance, like, that next day, I mean, it took me a solid day to recover from the gluten and the alcohol and the cake and the everything. Like, I thought the whole next day, I felt like I was completely
And we didn't have a rager. It's
it
not
wasn't-
like
yeah, it
none
was
of
a
us were
very
intoxicated.
civilized dinner party.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just think meditating that next day just didn't happen, you know? Like I couldn't even, I was such in a fog of, and I don't even, that's my point about the elimination. I don't even know which substance did that to me.
Yeah.
You know, was it the variety of the alcohol I drank, or was it the gluten, or was it the,
something that was in the food even?
Yeah. Or all the sugar I had, started early with a bunch of options. So.
Yeah. Well, and the thing with the third eye, for example, like if your third eye is not balanced, you can be prone to migraines and headaches and da-da-da. However, if you're eating foods that have, and the thing that comes to the top of my mind right away, MSG, for example, it's a neurotoxin. Yeah. So it's going to actually mimic some of those same things. So if you're flooding your system with a variety of chemicals that are in your foods and you have no idea about any of them, you're maybe thinking, oh, well, it's my, third eye chakra because I have this migraine. No, you might have maybe just ate something that your body's just going, no, dude, this isn't, we don't do this. And you're down for the count. And
well, I think though you are coming from a different angle. Like most people aren't saying, oh, is it my third eye?
That's true.
Most people are saying, what the heck did I eat? Or how did I sleep bad? Or is some, like, the light cause it? Or a glass of wine cause it? Or whatever. But, or a workout. Did a workout cause the migraine? Like,
what caused it?
But
well, I mean,
and now you're having the conversation that says, is your third eye out of alignment? Do you need to do some structural chakra realignment and some meditation, some Reiki, some energy work, something, a grounding salt bath, a grounding earthing walk, something else that could help realign your chakras. And those are simple solutions without hiring a professional to help you,
Yeah. Well, and it also, should you be reaching for ibuprofen or Excedrin because you've got a headache, or is there actually, you've already done all this stuff, you've already cleaned up your diet, you've already meditated, you've already this, you've already that, but it's, your mind's still going and you've got the migraine, you reach for but maybe there's just something out of alignment.
Very true.
Or maybe you had a sugary cake that you forgot about.
Well, so in this class we were talking about dissonance and resonance and like getting rid of the dissonance, and like is something like a migraine an example of dissonance in your life, or is it from a workout or something you ate? And hopefully people are looking at all of those things, or starting to look at all of those things. And I think this time frame has allowed for a lot of people to explore their spirituality. Yeah. I mean, hopefully it feels like, maybe it's just the people we surround ourselves with, but it feels like more people are doing that. So, so look to all those things. Look to the physical activities that you did that might have caused it. Look to any dissonance you might have in your relationships, like things that are pushing against you, Look to the foods that you ate or if you've spent any time with your own intuition and your own third eye and your own, head.
Yeah, that whole hanging out with the self.
Yeah.
Aye.
Well, you manifested.
I love being with me, so I'm okay. But okay, so if just from a nutritional perspective, right? Because that is your forte.
Yes.
So how would you go about that? So say someone's like, okay, well, I've already gone and my neck is not out of alignment, and I want to clean up my diet. What can I do without what can, just tips even? What can I do to
I mean, the first thing would be water.
So true, yeah. So many of us forget that part.
Definitely hydrate. And I'm one of the worst ones right now. But I would say the first thing is water. And then second, I would get rid of anything artificial. So you'd want to eliminate anything artificial, and including things like sugar. And then bring in the grounding foods, like anything green. Yeah. However you want to eat it. Like there's definitely like time frames where warming foods are going to be better and cooler foods are going to be, and that I don't practice that philosophy necessarily. I just sort of eat intuitively and what sounds good, but I try to stick with vegetables and lean proteins. Yeah, cook it in healthy fats. Yeah, and so if you're doing that for the most part, like then you're that's exactly what your body needs.
Yeah.
But eliminating the bad stuff is going to be first. I mean, I'm the first one that just wants to eat a bag of chips for dinner.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Too much salt, too much crunch, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to feel good the next day if I do that.
Right. But you also, something important, which is maybe not too extremes in what it is that you eat. Maybe in the wintertime, you're not craving the nice crisp salad.
Right.
Maybe you're craving the cooked stews or veggies or whatever, and just kind of pay attention to your body in terms of that too.
Yes.
Okay.
And you know, you guys go through these juicing phases, and I mean, I went through juicing phases years ago, and no longer resonates with me. It does no longer.
It's harder. It's harder in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Especially in the wintertime. Like, to do a juice fast in the wintertime is just rough.
Yeah, you should just do bone broth fast or something.
Because it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm definitely pro fasting. I definitely don't think we need as much food as we consume. Yeah. And I think you can have clearer head when you do have less food.
Well, and there is that little, which I find is a little bit difficult in terms of, not difficult, but giving yourself the permission that, okay, so you live in a household and, you know, there's breakfast, lunches, dinners, whatever, and we do encourage that everybody, you know, eat as a family and whatever, but everybody has such different needs. And we talked about this the other day, like, you are going to have very different needs than a 6'4" man in the house. Yes. You know what I mean? And to try and keep up with him, which one of you is going to look better in the long run? You know what I mean? Right. You know, but also it's unreasonable for him to try and keep up with you. So, so giving the permission of, we have lunch together, and then the rest of it, eat what you need, versus we have every single meal together. And because if the meal's cooked and it's all lovingly prepared, you're more likely to, you know, and
I don't know, I don't have that.
And moms can attest to this too, where, you know, how many moms come to you and they say, well, I eat whatever the baby doesn't finish. Yeah. And you're like, your child has very different nutritional needs than you do. And your child is also probably making different selections than you are. And you can't just gobble down whatever the child hasn't eaten if you then want to, you know, and I have full sympathy for, it's not easy if you've got a little one and you're running after them, and, you know, but you do have to put
really easy.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I mean, we babysat a dog for a week and we struggled.
We're like, I
know.
They want so much attention.
Seriously. But, you know, I'm sympathetic to that yes, this little guy or little girl has, you know, all these different needs, and you're trying to race after them, and you're like, I don't have time to then make myself this nice, calm, meditative meal.
And it's easy for us to say too that we that you should put yourself first, and I agree that mothers should also put themselves first. Like, you save yourself. You have to put on the oxygen mask for yourself first. Yeah. But it's just not the world we live in. You know, unfortunately, when it comes to feeding your children and stuff, moms will never put themselves first, and
they're tired and they're waking up at God knows what time and going to bed, you know, and who wants to go to bed when the toddler goes to bed? But you gotta because toddler wakes up at 5. Yeah. You know? So, well, let's talk a little bit. So just for background, so if your third eye, for example, is overactive, you have a tendency to indulge in the fantasy world, which I can attest to that, but I really like that. But and you kind of lose touch with reality, which is very similar to the crown chakra. Your head is kind of in the clouds because it's so lovely to be in your imagination uninterrupted, you know? And maybe that's why I do what I do as far as being a designer. I get to sit there and I can come up with all these things. So you're kind of constantly in the flow of thoughts, which can become mentally exhausting. So if it's overactive, you are prone to, say, hallucinations, being judgmental, anxiety, mental fog. You can feel overwhelmed, which I think, who doesn't feel overwhelmed? But
that must be on both.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Paranoia, delusion. So again, you would be in your own world so much that you forget that you're like having to live a life and need to be grounded a little bit. And you know, so you'd be so off in your own world that you'd lose touch with interacting with other people, interacting with life itself, right? So physical symptoms can be headaches, vision problems, seizures, insomnia, nausea, sinus issues, which is actually very similar to the crown chakra. Now, if it is blocked, meaning it's underactive, you can lose a sense of direction in life. You can become stagnant. You tend to hang on and kind of cling to the past, or always reliving the past, and sort of living in that fear of, well, this happened to me in the past, therefore it must happen to me again if I see these similar things happening. So, that could be quite scary. And then the rest of it, I think, kind of matches where, the delusions, the depression, anxiety, paranoia, vivid dreams and nightmares. And I found that interesting. So yours is clearly not blocked.
No, I would say mine's clearly blocked based on those other first ones.
Really?
Yeah.
Except for the vivid dreams and nightmares.
Yeah, except that one. But that's, that's like saying, oh, you have cancer and you have every single symptom that cancer patients have. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true.
So symptoms are symptoms for a reason. Like, there's a variety of them.
Right.
But I definitely think, like, another reason why I'm focused on the third eye is I don't have a creative outlet. Some people play music, some people draw, some people do...
You arrange furniture.
Yeah.
You think about your outfits. You are constantly rearranging your plants. All of that is...
Yeah, but the plants was a thing, like, I had to develop. Like, it was a hobby I had to develop. And, like, when it comes to... my examples are, like, the people in my class, a lot of them are creative people, like designers, clothing designers, interior designers, things like that. So, and that's not where my outlet is, but I want to develop that, it's just like, it's just putting emphasis on developing it. So I don't think, like, my heart was broken, but, like, I think I just needed to develop my heart chakra better, to become more aware of everything it entails. And that's the same thing with the third eye.
Maybe you should join us when I work on the heart chakra podcast. That would be interesting. I do have a guest already lined up for that, but the three of us could have a really interesting conversation. Physical symptoms, if your third eye is blocked, and this is where I thought this was really interesting. Frequently sick, that's definitely not you, but suffer with insomnia. And I know you have trouble sleeping.
All the time.
And I find that really interesting. Yeah. The rest of it would be like high blood pressure, seizures, migraines,
those are extreme.
Poor vision. Those are sciatica.
I have sciatica.
I think that's interesting on the third eye. So
actually, I don't really right now, but yeah, that is interesting. It was chronic for a while there. That's interesting.
So look at that. And I guess why I'm even talking about some of these so-called symptoms, it's more that if someone, listening to this is like, well, I've done everything, doctors can't find anything wrong, and I do all the good foods, and I exercise, and I do all the stuff, and I meditate, it could literally be like, oh, maybe that's what I need to work on, is connecting with that third eye, connecting with the, the crown, because there's always a chain, right? Yeah. Which probably means throat. That'll also be an interesting conversation. But, it could be that. Because for me, I did all the stuff for migraines. I did all the stuff, and no one could ever find anything wrong. There's nothing wrong, but I suffered with migraines. I stopped suffering with migraines once I started to do the hypnosis techniques. And once I started to meditate more. And once I started to even learn about the chakra system, I went, it never even occurred to me that migraines is part of that. And there was such a blockage. Yeah. And, and sometimes, you kind of come off as super loopy that you go, no, this is where I'm at, and I'm gonna stick by me on this one. And I might sound crazy, but I don't even care. I'm developing my third eye.
Well, I love always looking at the metaphysical reason for pain. Yeah, like I always look that up. Like, my knee's been hurting ever since we went to Mammoth in January, and I can do everything. It's not hurting.
And I hurt my toe.
Does it still hurt?
Still hurts. Yeah.
I can do everything. I can do all my workouts. It just aches though. And it pops all the time, and it still just aches. Yeah. And it's not any better. Yeah. And I've seen some therapists for it, and it's still just like, I feel like it's going to work out, but like it kind of happened in yoga too. When we're in yoga, it kind of pops different than this, but same.
Barbara and I got certified in yoga together, so
Yeah.
we've done a lot of stuff together.
But so I just looked it up today, and it was fascinating because normally, I mean, a lot of the metaphysical reasons for any ailment is fear, not wanting to move forward, and to name a few. And then this one was inflexibility, and I'm gonna just look it up really quick because I thought, oh my gosh, it's like the first time that it was something kind of like different that I didn't really represents. Oh, pride and ego.
Whoa!
Stubborn ego and pride, inability to bend, fear, inflexibility, won't give in. And I thought, that's interesting that I just finally looked that up today because it's been bothering me for 2 months. And like, what in the last 2 months has what have I been inflexible on? What have I been, what's my ego, what like, and I'm sure now I'm gonna have to meditate on it.
Yeah.
Because I really don't have the answer like right off the bat. Sometimes I do. Sciatic was, when I had sciatic, I looked it up.
Yeah.
And it was like, not wanting to move forward, I think.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is interesting. I mean, again, for those of you listening, it's not like we're saying, look it up immediately, but it can usually give you a lot of insight.
It wasn't. It was being hypercritical, fear of money, and the future.
Which is very fitting, and you were working on your
time,
heart chakra,
At the time.
which is kind of fear of future in some ways. You could feel like you're all alone in the world when it's
and like Shin
heart chakra.
with this injury I have right now represents the standards of life, breaking down ideals. I mean, it's just interesting.
Interesting stuff. Yeah, I guess
where my injuries
I'll
are.
look up my toe later. But I guess since we're on that, so ways to balance the third eye chakra. Ready for this? Mm-hmm. One is diet and exercise, obviously. Healing upwards and cleaning the pineal gland. So they say cleaning the pineal gland, good water, toothpaste without aluminum in it. Fluoride. And there's a variety
we should go
of
do
different
some
things.
Sananga. Huh?
And we could
Wasn't that-
potentially do some Sananga, yeah.
Sananga and then Hape.
Oh gosh,
Were they
and I always
both
thought that
for-
was so hard. Yeah, those were for
Both
pineal
for-
gland, yeah.
Yeah.
Raw vegan diet, but really what that says is vegetables.
Yeah.
You need more vegetables.
Yeah.
You might just be a little too, and again, this is how to balance it. So this would be more like if you're kind of blocked, if you're constantly in the lower chakras. So, we're not even talking about right now whether you're eating too much meat. It's none of that. It's just when you're eating root vegetables and meat and stuff, it tends to ground you onto the earth more. So eating vegetables and fruits and more liquid, because this is a liquid chakra, would bring you a little bit up into your imagination a little bit more, that kind of thing. This chakra obviously responds to meditation, which you've talked about, and visualizing. So visualizing, unlike the crown chakra, where silence is sort of the thing to just be, this one would be great for the guided meditations and things like that, where someone is telling you what to picture and you picture it. So
and I think
that's helpful.
I think that's actually easier for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Like people
Absolutely.
who say they can't meditate, well, they should start with some guided visualizations or guided meditations so that they don't worry about their thought process not being
It's also a good one if you want to, which I've mentioned before, I think, is looking at a candle. It's the flickering light, because it's that flickering light, or even watching clouds pass by, in the sense that you lay down and you see, oh, that looks like a rabbit, or it looks like, and same with the fires, is actually looking for little things that you see in the flames. Oh, that flame looked like whatever, and it just allowing your imagination essentially to just play for a little bit. That is a good one. So I like that. Let me see what else. Yoga, forward bends and inversions, that kind of thing. Now this is an interesting, which I found it fascinating that they would even mention it on the list. It's just letting go of the ego, developing intuition, nurturing creativity. I would venture to say, if you don't know how to do that because you're struggling with it, how the heck do you put it on a list and, oh, now I'll let go of my ego, So I would venture to say is connect with the imagination part of you first, whatever that looks like, whether it is the candle, the cloud, and the rest will come. And if you start having that as a practice, you'll find that over time, sitting in silence get easier, which means then you're connecting with crown, and just kind of don't worry about it so much. If you're doing it wrong or right or whatever, find a meditation that you like. They're all over the place. There's apps, there's YouTube, there's just all over the place. Find one that you like and just go with it and start there.
Like Emily Fletcher always says, the mind thinks like the heart beats. And so I think for all those people who think that meditation, they can't shut off their mind or they can't do any of that stuff, so they don't even bother. I mean, like, you're not necessarily supposed to shut off your mind. It's just come back to it.
Yeah.
Come back to the breath, come back to one thought, pick a word, pick a mantra, and just stay on that. Yeah.
And with this one too, because it is, right there with the sinus cavity, maybe pick a scent that you like. Maybe, yeah. Surround yourself with that, where a scent that obviously relaxes you and calms you. But just do that. Smell a flower for a little bit, But yeah, you can do yogic breathing. So like pranayama breathing. And there's also tons of apps for that. Just focusing on the breath, count your inhales, count your exhales, that kind of thing. All the different visualizations, sun gazing. So sunset, sunrise sort of thing, not, high noon staring at the sun, but as it's setting, even you going to look at the sunset, that has a tendency to kind of calm your system.
And then that goes just like pretty. Just being in nature.
True.
Bueno always says, Barty, you gotta be in nature.
Gotta be in nature. Yeah. And then, like we already talked about, raw cacao, ginseng, apple cider vinegar, which you always talk about that because it also helps out your gut. Yeah. It clears everything out.
It makes sense then. And then align your third eye as well.
I think that's fascinating.
Gut brain connection.
And charcoal. So what do you have to say about charcoal?
Charcoal is always going to detox you from your gut. It's going to pull toxins from your gut. So that makes sense then again. Like, you can clean your gut, you can clean your mind.
And then crystals and stones. So that's another one. Barb, while she's doing this, she's hanging onto a crystal. And crystals are kind of nice because they're a little bit of a touchstone. So for the third eye, the crystals that are sort of not best for it, but some of the crystals you can use, anything that's an indigo color or a white, even diamonds, so if you've got diamond ring or whatever, you can use emeralds, sapphire, the lapis lazuli. That's a beautiful one. I like to meditate with that. It's that dark blue stone it's got a little bit of gold through it. A moonstone, which you gave me once. Amethyst even works for this, and labradorite, which is again interesting because that's exactly what you're holding is a labradorite. Okay, so any finishing comments on this?
I had a thought, but now it's past. I can't. We were talking about the apple cider vinegar. I don't know. I lost it, but. I think it's all very interesting, and I think being aware of these chakras and how aligning them, and then like we're not perfect beings. We're never going to be perfect beings. We always have to do the work. We always have to readjust our behaviors and our philosophies, even our methodologies in our lives, so that we can continue to progress and continue to get better all the time. We just want to feel better and get better on a regular basis. I think just exploring that it's not always just right in front of you. Sometimes it is a little esoteric. It is something like a third eye, quote unquote, that could be the reason why you're not making the right decision, or you're confused about something, or more so exploring these other options and knowing that it's not just black and white right in front of you. Yeah.
And we're complicated beings. And, we didn't mention in this episode, but I have talked about in other episodes where we have all these energy centers within our body. So it's not like you know, because I feel like some people get a little bit nervous around the words, even third eye. But what we're talking about is there's different parts of your body. There's all these energies rushing through your body, and it usually corresponds with nerve bundles, and it corresponds with the meridians, and, you know, and you are a being that lives on a planet that also has her own energy. Like every time, you know, we don't feel great, I tend to look up Schumann resonance, you know, but Schumann resonance works with your nervous system. So it's not like, oh, what's the earth up to, but more about, well, if there's a ton of energy bouncing around the earth right now or bouncing around in our ionosphere, it's more than likely you as a human being with electrical currents running through you, because that's how our brain works. You're
going to feel it.
You're going to feel it. Your nervous system is going to respond. So if it's overactive, your nervous system is going to hype up. And I mean, I tend to feel great when that happens. You not so much, but when it really calms down and we go into stillness, it's almost like I go into depression, whereas you're all, finally, I can breathe.
I feel so good.
I feel so much better now, yeah.
I mean, even like when you're talking about energy systems, and like I had acupuncture today. So, and normally I leave acupuncture feeling pretty good, but every once in a while I'll leave lower than I went in, and I don't think it's the acupuncture fault. I think it's realigning energies. It's readjusting your system, and I think my body had to catch up to it a little bit. So I left the acupuncture. I went into the gym, and I immediately I couldn't even handle Grant and Bryce saying hi. I immediately overwhelmed. I had to leave. I went and sat in the infrared again. And so twice I sat in the infrared sauna today.
But I mean, the beautiful part about that is, and what I think we're trying to get across is, there's a variety of things that could be happening, and there's a variety of ways to
overcome those things.
And research, not research, but I guess play with, hey, maybe it's this today, maybe it's the infrared, maybe it's just going outside and being under the sunshine, and maybe it's going into a cool place, and maybe it's going into a crowd because you need that crowd energy, and maybe it's retreating, and maybe it is that, you know, something's out of whack and it's a chiropractor, or maybe it is a acupuncturist and work on the meridians, or maybe it is I need to go have some more water, and water stores energy, water stores information as well, which, you know, has been proven time and time again with how water crystals arrange themselves, and then there's always the idea of, if I can't give it to myself because I don't know what it is, even something as weird as letting go of ego, send that thought into my water, then drink it. The crystals have arranged themselves a different way, and now at least I'm trying to make it part of me. So the point is, explore the different tools and ways that you might then, in a roundabout way, start feeling more centered and more you.
Yeah. And having conversations like this with like-minded people that can give you ideas about how to explore those things is the best.
I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. So, third eye.
Yay!
Third eye, everyone. That was fantastic. So I think that kind of wraps it up.
I think so too.
If someone wanted to come visit you, come see you, what's the best way?
Beachfitness.com. That's the best way.
Right.
We're also starting a book club at Sweat Savvy.
Are we?
But that's on Instagram. We're so more information at Sweat Savvy with an I. I can give you that link. You can put it in your notes.
Oh, I love that. We'll put that in our notes.
But otherwise, Beach Fitness and Barb at beachfitness.com.
Fantastic. So that kind of wraps it up for our episode. Thanks for joining us. So I'll put the links below if you want to connect with Barb further. Otherwise, soulhealingessentials.com for your free chakra journal outlining the chakras. And, it allows you to kind of keep notes as you explore your chakra system and see how it kind of develops over time. Soul Healing Essentials on Instagram and YouTube. Remember, discount code SheTalks11 to get your discount on your first Reiki or regression session. And for feedback on this episode, topic submission, or general feedback on the podcast, you can email shetalks@soulhealingessentials.com. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit the subscribe button on your podcast feed. Consider supporting this podcast at anchor.fm/shetalks/support. And if you'd like to submit a voice message to be used on future episodes, go to anchor.fm/she-talks/messages. As always, I'll have this on the bottom of the show notes. And don't forget to check out the Patreon group for She Talks, where we dive deeper into our podcast topics with live Q&A. And yeah, I think that's us. Yeah. Until next time.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thanks, Allie.